All right, there we go. Ooh, got it in time. Welcome in, welcome in. It is Monday morning, the 14th. We're already pretty much halfway through July. My goodness, time is flying, and it's time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. We are here every Monday and Wednesday, and I feel like my light is wrong now that you mention it. So I don't typically use the white light, but how are you doing, Eric? What's good? What'd you do this weekend?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I mean, we ended up doing two shows, so kind of cut into the weekend a little bit, but still able to spend plenty of time with the family. We went over to my parents' house on Friday and Saturday, did some, fireworks that you can do in Alaska, which isn't much, and then, played with some squirt guns and water balloons, which the kid had a good time. And then last night, just relaxed, watched some movies, got the wife into watching Reacher on Amazon, which is such a good show. I've already seen it all, but yeah, just was able to relax and have a good time with the family.
Who is the actor on Reacher?
Alan Richardson, I think is his name.
Okay, is he the guy that's on Blue Mountain State?
Yes. And it's
Oh
very
God.
hard to have watched that show and then watch him in Reacher. It's
Oh,
very hard.
okay. God, he was so funny in Blue Mountain State. Like
Polar opposite.
yeah, I mean, spoiler alert, like the first episode with the cookie butt cheek race, and then the one where he uh takes the condom and hides it.
Yeah.
God, man, that's such a funny show. My dad and I watched it when I think I was in high school or college over summer at some point. But that is a funny one for sure. Don't 2 seasons, 3 seasons.
Two or
I don't
three,
know.
something like that.
Did they make a movie? There was something like it was coming back, and I never
I don't know.
ended up watching it. All right, well, they do have they are the Broncos, right? I think so.
Yep.
Blue and orange, even. So it's on topic. I appreciate everyone coming in saying hello this morning. We got Mike Thompson saying Reacher is rad. Relax and let the best people up. Beat the best people up. There you go. And we also got Michael Ronquillo. Good morning, Nick and Eric on Broncos for Breakfast. Go Bo Broncos. Go Michael. Good to see you. Yeah, my wife is in another life. My wife, I think, would have been a TV critic because she always she's pretty good at picking good shows out. And I only pretty like all my TV consumption, Eric, is whatever I watch with her, other than football, because football takes up so much time that my free TV time is football. So like a lot of times we're watching anything, it's something that we both want to watch. But we just finished the second season of Severance, which is awesome. I mean, not a crazy thing to say there. Yeah, really good. And I think we're gonna watch Shrinking coming up here, and we've been watching the new season of Abbott Elementary, which is very clever, very funny, always good for a good laugh. That fake mockumentary, but a lot of heart, but silly. So appreciate it. But soon, Eric, it's gonna be time to be digging into preseason tape, college football tape here pretty soon. I'm excited for that as well. And yeah, I don't know that I have no real inkling on this upcoming draft class other than it looks like pretty good on the offensive and defensive side of the balls. Unfortunately, not really great at wide receiver, a position that we're going to talk about today. But have you started any 2026 draft or any idea early on? I know that somebody who I have a vendetta against, Caden Proctor, he'll probably be out of reach for the Broncos, but you never know. This time of year, you never know.
Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot. There's a few names that I know. I've done a little bit on some of the quarterbacks just to get them kind of out of the way um, for now, and that's about it, really. I'm still kind of compiling the list of guys to watch and sorting through it, and it's a long process for me. I mean, start off with about 1,500 names, and I got to get it down to 5 to 750 at the most. So it's a long process, but I'm in the works of it. Haven't really dug into any guys that make sense for the Broncos at this moment. Uh, so just quarterbacks pretty much, and it'll keep going and keep growing and keep getting more insights on these guys as time goes on.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate from what I've seen from the wide receivers. I don't even know if there's a first round grade caliber guy
Yeah.
at this point, which somebody will go in the first round. Wide receivers, unbelievably valuable. I mean, you can make an argument it's the second most valuable position in sports right now with how they're paying the top guys, but it doesn't seem like a good wide receiver class. But hey, that just means more trench play for you and me, or best defensive player available. Linebacker is a real dark horse. I don't know if there's a tight end that's worth it at this point, but you never know.
Really,
Tight end. What?
really, tight end. There's like pretty much consensus of 3 or 4 guys that are first round
Who
caliber.
are they?
Eli Stowers out of Vanderbilt is one of them, and I can't remember who the other ones. I was just looking at it probably about 40 minutes ago. I was actually just looking at it. Let me see here if I can't find it.
I know that there's the Oregon guy.
The Oregon guy is one of them as well.
Yeah, that's the only one that I've seen in the first round.
And Texas has a kid, and so does Ohio State.
Okay, Max Clare from Ohio State. I see the name here. Well, we will see. Tight end. Oh, I know. And I also really liked last year Oscar Delp coming out of Georgia just because he's a freak athlete. So we'll see. Long way to go. But, man, it's July, and we're already ready for at least some philosophical 2026 stuff with the draft. Let's say a little more folks coming in. Mike Thompson says Superman and Lois was really well done on the CW if you like Superman. I'll let my buddy. I have a buddy who's obsessed with Superman, so I'm sure he's already watched it. He's owns everything Superman, but yeah, no, cool, good to hear. James E. Doc JC says good morning with the sun reacts. Need to put those sun reacts away, James. It's going to be in the mid 80s here in Seattle, which is like, oh, you guys are soft. Mid 80s in Seattle, and we don't have air conditioning because it's never gets hot enough here, and our house is built to capture heat, so it's typically 5 degrees warmer inside than outside. So 80 to 5 outside means 90 degrees in my house, which is miserable. But luckily, I'm doing the show in the basement. Otherwise, I would look like I have a fever from a cold sweat or a warm sweat. Denver Luke, morning, y'all. Hope you're doing well. Denver Luke, always good to see you. Gatorade Gaming says Happy Gilmore 2 releases next week. Well, hopefully that's good. That'll be fun. I haven't gotten to the movies in a little while, so hard to do with out family, babysitter nearby, move coming up, et cetera, et cetera. Rodney's given us his. Oh, and we also got Michael saying rookie minicamp Wednesday. So excited for that. Okay, we got to dig into this, I guess. Eric, RJ Harvey and the NFL at large, second round contracts. RJ Harvey has not signed yet. Jahdae Barron has not signed yet, also for Denver. So, have you heard anything here? Do you have thoughts? I mean, it just feels like this is something that always gets taken care of, and do the details actually matter that much for me for a rookie contract? It gets figured out, but the second round stuff, and more specifically Jahdae Barron, it'll work itself out. I think the second round contract stuff is an NFL wide weirdness right now, thanks to the Houston Texans and giving a fully guaranteed contract to Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. So thoughts there? Anything on the Broncos front that you've heard? I mean, I know if there's any position you want somebody like maybe missing out, if it's a rookie, it's probably running back. But at the same time, like pass protection, getting through the motion, the receiving stuff, working with the coaches, I mean, it's a problem, and it could change dramatically my early season projection for the running back position.
I still expect at some point one of these teams to kind of break away from the rest, because we know that NFL teams collude with each other when it goes to certain things. We know that it's already been proven, especially with contracts. Talking about that was quarterback contracts after Deshaun Watson. So I expect at some point teams will break from it to get their second round pick signed. I wouldn't be surprised if it's here soon. And I mean, if Greg Penner and the Walter Penner group had any cojones, they would just kind of do what they need to get RJ Harvey signed and just break from it. And we're talking about the 60th overall pick and 30 of 32 second round picks remain unsigned. Well, that puts more pressure on other teams, which can, as you said, it can impact with certain positions. Missing time on training camp. We already know that the Los Angeles Chargers second round pick is going to be holding out of training camp as he's looking for that guaranteed money. So you can use that as kind of a advantage come early regular season if they just go ahead and not necessarily give them all guaranteed, but give them 50% guaranteed or whatever it takes to get it done, and just get ahead and put the pressure on the other teams to get the deals done. And I'm more intrigued by what's going on with the second round picks than Jahdae Barron not having signed, because that's something where there's not much of a discussion there. The guy before him signed, the guy after him signed, where his contract's going to fall in place. It's just a matter of getting it done. I'm sure there's some language aspect to it, kind of like what we have with Shamar Stewart and the Cincinnati Bengals when it comes to money voiding. And so I'm sure there might be something like that with it, but I'm not worried about it. I expect it to get done. And yeah, as I said, I would just get that second round pick done, do whatever it takes, and just put the pressure on other owners.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also, did you shave? Did you trim it down?
I trimmed it down.
All right, Thin It Kendall show now. Eric's not. We're just kidding. But I did too. I did too. It was getting too hot. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to follow as an NFL storyline going forward. Totally disrupted the status quo there. I do wonder if the league is going to be annoyed at the Houston Texans for this, given what we found out about the quarterback collusion stuff from the recent NFLPA. Was it dossier? Is that the right word? That was released, and how NFLPA wanted a arbiter to look at the process of Russell Wilson's contract, Kyler Murray's contract, and somebody else. Is not ringing a bell right now, but they said, well, they're colluding, and didn't find to be true collusion there. There's guidance, suggestions from the league, but then you have this thing happening with the Texans that really disrupts it. So with the second round rookie contracts and the guaranteed, which is what they do not want to do. The NFL does not want to give out the guaranteed contracts. So we will see. I do think maybe since the Broncos ownership group is still relatively new, they aren't going to try to disrupt, like you mentioned, throwing your money around a little bit with the ownership group. I could see them, trying to be good for the league rather than tossing the money around, because not every single team can do that. But we'll see. It's really unfortunate, though, that it's happening, because we've said on the show, I think RJ Harvey is probably the singular most important addition to this team for the 2026 season, given offensive line was great last season, defense was great last season. You didn't make a premier investment at tight end or wide receiver for this year. We'll see what happens with Pat Bryant. I wouldn't call a 74 overall premier for 2025 season. But RJ Harvey, second round pick, running back, that's a premier investment. And the Broncos running game was bad last year, despite all the metrics saying their blocking was pretty good. We know Peyton can scheme up the run game as well. So I'm a little bit bummed, I guess is how I put it. I don't blame RJ Harvey at all. Go get your money, King. God bless you. This could be your only contract. You never know. So get as much as you can. But I have a lot riding on him. I think me personally, but I think the team, but I a lot riding on him for the success of the Broncos and the offense evolving a step further.
Yeah, as you said, I don't expect the Walter Penner group to break from the rest of the NFL and do it. That's why I said if they had the cojones, they would. But they're still one of the newer owners, and so they're still, don't want to make waves just yet and upset other owners. But it sure would be nice just for them to do that. Also, it would send a clear message about their seriousness of continuing to make sure they have the pieces around Bo Nix, not letting that second round investment in that running back miss time in training camp, because it's getting to the point where that deadline's coming where he has to show up or he's holding out, like Trey Harris for the Chargers. I mentioned that. So we're almost there at that point. So they just need to get it done. I'm not worried about Jahdae Barron. I can't say that enough. But the situation with the second round picks, with RJ Harvey, because it being league wide, that is not necessarily starting to worry, but starting to cause some concern. I do think eventually they'll get it figured out, but how long? What team breaks the trend? What team starts, makes their signing, and then that, creates a domino effect of all the other teams signing their second round picks? Still got to wait and see on that. But Jahdae Barron, I still expect him to get signed probably, no later than Wednesday or Thursday. But RJ Harvey, it could be another week or two still at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely. Rodney's saying offensive tackle and linebacker for 2026. Linebacker is so hard just because it's becoming really rare for first round caliber linebackers to come into the league, because the game is so freaking different from college football to the NFL because of the hash marks and what they're allowed to do and the spacing that linebackers have to cover compared to the condensed box sets you're seeing more so in the NFL. So linebacker is tough. I do know there is a lot of love for that Texas cat, Anthony Hill Jr. We will see what happens with him. I think Georgia has a guy as well, but linebacker is a tough one. You want one, but they just do not really come from the college game at a very high proficient level. And because the game is so different, you're evaluating them on a game that doesn't exactly translate. The skill sets and don't exactly translate to the NFL. So it's risky. It's a risky position. It's becoming one of those positions where it's like they are valuable, but it's almost a scarcity based driver of value. But at the same time, you're not really like, there's a strong correlation to hitting and knowing what an offensive tackle looks like coming out in the first round and the hit rate there. Linebacker is one of the worst hit rate positions. It's really just a mixed bag round one. So round two, day two, still a mixed bag, but at least it's not going to totally destroy you. See you, Drew Sanders. I mean, Broncos looks like a whiff right now, but Broncos team still looking pretty good. So we'll see. Offensive tackle, though, I'll still throw out defensive line. You're going to lose Roach, DJ Jones a year older. We'll see about JFM and John Franklin Myers. We don't know about Savion Jones still. And when in doubt, add to the trenches. I think that's like teams that are really good. It's like, how do the Eagles keep doing this? They let players fall to them, but they also just continuously use premium picks on that. And it's like, there's going to be reps. We're going to be strong there. We're just going to keep rotating them and developing. So if the Broncos are in a position where there's not a glaring, flashing red light at a position, there might be one at wide receiver. We'll see, but there might not be the player available. I'm not really hyped about the wide receivers I've seen, but just tossing another pick on the defensive line makes sense. Well, so many young guys, though. We'll see how that plays out. We'll get to that next week, Wednesday, for the defensive line battles as well. Greg Smith, good morning, Broncos country and Denver Broncos for life. Conga says, wonder at what point of Bo's career the Broncos will get offensive weapons the caliber of what Burrow has. I'm going to be honest with you, Conga. I think it's probably safe to say never, because how often do teams actually have a top 2 wide receiver in the NFL and a top 15 wide receiver in the NFL at the same time? And also the other aspect of this, and sorry, Eric, I'm on a roll right now. I've got to let you talk too. The other aspect of this is, I don't know if Sean Payton truly, I mean, you take him if you can get him, no doubt, but like, I don't think he's going to hunt to have, we got to copy what Burrow has as weapons based on how he's talked. He's talked much more about the offensive line, the defense, and the running game in general compared to the pass catching weapons. Now, he does obviously value them, one of the Joker, blah, blah, blah. He does want them, but I don't think he needs to have number 2 wide receiver in the NFL, number 11 wide receiver in the NFL to get it done.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. When you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, their issues come from their offensive line. It hasn't been built up. It remains to be a question and a concern. So I don't see Sean Payton, not necessarily ignoring, but devaluing the offensive line for offensive weapons. That's just never been his style. He's always had that value on the offensive line. It all starts and ends in the trenches. So I don't expect it unless it just happens to fall into his lap. Like if Pat Bryant turns into like one of those receivers in Troy Franklin or Devon Bailey or Marvin Mims, like unless it just happens naturally, I don't expect it to happen. He's not going to go hunted. I won't say that 100% guaranteed, but 99.9% Sean Payton's not going to go hunt trying to get 2 top 15 wide receivers for Bo Nix.
Yeah, and the Bengals kind of lucked into it too to some extent, right? And once you have them, you don't want to let them walk. Eric Smith, aside from the obvious ones, keeping an eye on ears on Drew Sanders' progress. Really hope he comes along. He will see plenty of opportunities to play being behind Singleton and Greenlaw. As long as he's healthy, he can go. Yeah, he's one that feels like he's very much on the roster bubble right now. We're going to talk about him more on Wednesday. We're going to focus on offensive guys today. But yeah, Drew Sanders is an interesting one. At this point, you probably can't write anybody off completely, but I know that he's one that it could go either way, and I would not be surprised for him, especially after adding Q Robinson. Last year, we saw Drew Sanders make some splashes in special teams. He's a blitz package player, kind of how Q was used, and Q was, in Nick Saban's word, the best special teams player he's ever coached. So I know they don't exactly play the same position, but they might fill the same role this season at the same time. So we'll see. Greg Smith is 113 in heat advisory in Vegas today. Barf. My God. Good luck. Stay inside. Pool. I don't know. That's just, it's a dry heat, hopefully, but that sounds not good. Good to see you, Roy Osborne. Happy Gilmore's on Netflix too. See how much I pay attention to things. I'm busy out here hiking and working right now, but great to see you. Did they already release? I don't even know. I don't know. Good morning from Chase. I'm talking about Happy Gilmore. He probably knows. Good to see you. Yeah, Conga says billionaire's problem as far as the Harvey stuff. Yeah. Mike Hamilton asked, do other rookie contracts have those guarantees? There's a lot more guarantees and obvious money in the first round contracts, but you haven't typically seen second round contracts get these massive guaranteed contracts. What exactly they're paid is typically been like predetermined, like slotted. But how the contract stacks and the guarantees and how it falls, I think there's wiggle room for the teams. And Texans kind of disrupted that this season. So now everybody's holding out. It's really interesting to follow, no doubt.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that we've been building up to the point where we're going to start seeing second round picks get fully guaranteed contracts. All first round picks do. And so it's just, there's still some way with the structure of it. Signing bonus first, base salary. That's one of the still fine line, negotiating aspects, as well as the voids, which is what's the issue is with Shamar Stewart and the Bengals. But second round picks, we've been building up to them starting to get second round picks. I still think we were about 2, maybe 3 years off from it happening until the Texans decided to do it, which has kind of thrown a wrench into the whole thing for the NFL, which is why, again, 30 or 32 second round picks remain unsigned. Some team at some point has to cave in. They got to get it done. And until then, who knows? It all comes down to who blinks first and makes it. And then after that, I probably wouldn't expect if all 30 of them get signed within, the next 5 to 10 days after that first domino falls.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm hoping it does happen quickly all at once. And with training camp coming up, there's a little bit of pressure to get it done, but I don't know. It'll happen when it happens, I guess.
Deadlines for actions, and training camp is one of those deadlines.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. And other part of that is the Broncos potentially signing some guys to contracts before free agency, before the season started, which we talked a lot about. Steven says Broncos or die. My God, Steven, you're metal as hell. Says, let them know. Good to see you. Really do appreciate you coming in and saying hello. Make sure you guys click a thumbs up on the way in. We got Rodney saying, I'm excited to see what Sherfield does on special teams and as a wide receiver. So let's get into it, Eric. The Broncos probably go another 15, 20 minutes here. Broncos offensive side training camp battle. I think probably the most interesting and obvious is the battle for wide receiver. I mean, we do know that we have Courtland Sutton as the primary function of the Broncos, or outlet, I guess, of the Broncos offensive pass game. But after that, it is, a shotgun approach to a certain extent at wide receiver. You have Devon Bailey returning, but he's had some dings this season where it's been kind of hush-hush. We'll see if anything comes of it when they actually have to start reporting things. But Sean Payton got testy during OTAs about Devon Bailey conversations. So I think right now, I'd bet him to be wide receiver too, if we're not including Evan Ingram in that. But the injury stuff changes things. They used a 3rd-round pick on Pat Bryant, who's an interesting one. He blocks so well. He's kind of a power slot, but is that Evan Ingram's role more so this season? How do they overlap with each other? And then, of course, you got Marvin Mims, exploded the last quarter of the season. More gadgety. Can he develop a little bit better as a route runner? The contested catches, year 3 for him, still a young player. And then Troy Franklin also mentions in, and I haven't given him much attention. I guess I've just kind of waved him off as just pure special teams, but I know in OTAs, Sherfield was making some plays and standing out to some extent, and I expect him to make the roster too. So it would be probably a really bad thing if he ends up being your wide receiver 2, 3 on the team for the Denver Broncos, but still can be a key contributor outside of just special teams. So I'm very interested to see how wide receivers do. And it's actually one of the positions I feel like we can actually, if they allow any information to get out, but we can glean information from wide receivers in training camp, unlike some of the trench stuff, some of the running back stuff. Wide receivers, as long as they're not running the TikTok routes out there in one-on-ones, coaches should be on their butts for that. Then we can find out a lot.
Yeah, and wide receiver, it's one of those positions where I think we know the 6 guys who are going to make the roster. Maybe they surprise and keep a 7th. But at least in terms of that, the 6 guys, I think they're pretty much set and safe. I mean, if anybody, I've said this before, if any of them are have that spot available, it's Troy Franklin. And I still think it's more likely he makes the roster than not. And the battle here, it's not just for wide receiver 2, but it's just wide receiver 2 through 6. What are their roles? What's their usage? Where do they find themselves? Does Marvin Mims become more than a gadget receiver? Does Troy Franklin show to be more than this deep guy or short or immediate catch guy? Yards, and try to make him a yards after the catch. Can he show that route development to have more on his route tree than we saw last year? But, of course, the big one is wide receiver 2. Is it Devon Bailey? Is it Pat Bryant? I still think that there's a competition there. I do lean Devon Bailey, but as you said, the injury throws a wrinkle into it. Maybe Troy Franklin does show this step up that I don't think either of us are really expecting. And because, ball tracking, catching the ball, the route tree, the route running, the nuances of it, all things that are on Troy Franklin's plate. Not sure he can show improvement in all those to where he ends up wide receiver 2. And Trent Sherfield, I mean, as you said, if he ends up wide receiver 2, it would be a little bit surprised if he ends up more than I think would say wide receiver 4, 5, 6. Probably a bit concerning and probably a bad sign for the rest of the wide receivers. But it's, as you said, it's Sean Payton's taking a shotgun approach to this wide receiver room and seeing who that wide receiver 2 is going to be. And maybe it's a situation where none of them really step up and take that spot, and he just continues the shotgun approach throughout it. And depending on down, distance, and situation, changes what receivers out there as that wide receiver 2.
Yeah, that's definitely probably the most intriguing camp battle for the Broncos. I mean, it's just the area where there's the most question, but also the most possibility, given how many young players they have there. So, and it's possible that none of them hit. It's possible that you get multiple hit. I mean, I feel like entering last season, I was more doom and gloom, especially like the defense. How many of these guys can actually hit? Like they only have 1 first-round pick. They got none on the defensive line. Question. Holy bleep. They're a top 5 defense. So, they might roll Yahtzee, as I like to say, multiple times, but we will see. It's going to be fascinating to follow for sure, and we're going to get a lot more information on them. Rodney asks, see the Broncos picking up a veteran wide receiver? If, let's say, Devon Bailey's injury for some reason causes him to miss the season, like they elect for surgery instead for whatever's going on, or something happens, none of the guys step up, I guess anything can happen there for the Broncos. But as it stands, it seems pretty crowded, and they seem happy to go with their youths and let them sort out. But injuries can change things, and how the guys look throughout training camp and preseason can change things as well. So I think idle is the probable move right now. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, unless something happens, as you said, injury or, for lack of a better way to put it, disappointment in one of their young guys, I don't expect them to add a veteran wide receiver. It's just they want to give the young guys that opportunity to step up, and they don't want to cut into their practice reps or even snap counts come preseason games by bringing in a veteran wide receiver unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah. Yep. That just seems like where it's going right now, but they don't have all the information. That can change as you gather more information. So we will see what happens there. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat. What's new? Conga makes a funny point. Linebackers stepped up. Broncos have completely surrendered, but even trying to draft any. The league at large kind of has started to go that way. So the only first-round linebacker in the last 5 years I can think that looks like a hit right now, Eric, is Jack Campbell, right? Like he was last season, he looked like a top 3 to 5 linebacker despite things falling apart around him. And he actually is somebody who played in the box stylistically, Big Ten West football. So questions about his athleticism and coverage, but man, he's so smart and plays. He's a good player. I can remember where I was sitting, Eric. It's so weird. Like you have a vivid memory. Texting you about Jack Campbell. I was taking the train from the Seattle airport back to my neighborhood, and given his lack of coverage skills and questions and overall athleticism, I'm thinking probably a 2nd-round pick for him. I think the league at large had him, but a 1st-round pick, and he looks pretty darn good right now. He's going to have some problems if you isolate him in space. But it comes down to find me the linebacker who doesn't have that right now. That doesn't have some other issues other than Fred Warner, right? He's the rule breaker, but it's tough. There's just not the bodies out there for it. And because offenses can dictate where the football goes, and it's become so matchup oriented in the pass game, who's the weakest coverage player in your back 7? Where's the most space going to be located a lot of times? Linebacker. So it's tough. Trying to think of another. They're set up to lose a lot of times. So if they don't lose, it's pretty special. Troy Boer, 1999 says, which players on offense are most likely special teams contributors? So to have an edge to making the team, Sherfield for sure. He's one. Of course, you also have fullback Michael Burton. He's the other one. We'll see if they do the practice squad stuff with him again up and down the season, but he's another one. The special team stands out for him.
Yeah, Michael Burton, I expected them to do what they did last year, practice squad for the first few weeks, and then once his eligibility's up, bring him up onto the roster. Another one is Nate Atkins. He had, if I remember right, he had the 4th or 5th most special team snaps last year, and he did quite well. And then he started to come around as a blocker. I think he ended up the best blocking tight end for the Broncos last year by the end of the season. which not saying a whole lot, but it still was pretty solid showing from him. So it's not just special teams for him. And then can we throw Marvin Mims in there? Because outside
No.
of that, the
Yeah.
Broncos special teams unit was largely made up of defense. There's not really a bunch of depth guys on the offensive side of the ball who saw a lot of special teams reps outside of the offensive linemen. But that doesn't really, special teams offensive line play doesn't necessarily guarantee you a roster spot like it can elsewhere. Like for being a gunner or a returner. Maybe Audric Estime, he didn't see a whole lot of snaps there, but he did actually do decently on special teams when he was asked to do it. I think he was just right around 100 snaps on special teams last year. And if you're going to be that, fourth running back, which is what I think he's competing for, you got to contribute on special teams. So that might give him an edge over the Tyler Bidet or Blake Watson.
Yeah, great call. Can we make an Alex Forsyth joke here? Is it too soon? But sorry, guys. Thanks you so much for the super chat, Troy. Yeah, those are the ones. So that's one reason that I have such a hard time with Troy Franklin. Your fourth wide receiver needs to play some special teams. Do you think there's a chance that Pat Bryant becomes a pretty big special teams contributor? I know he's a third round pick, and you hope that he's not. That's his main role. But given his physical play style, I could see him becoming. I don't know. He's not like a 4-3 absolute blazer, but he's a physical player still, and that tends to translate pretty well to your core four.
Yeah, he very well could. I just questioned the opening for it because looking at special teams as a whole, they brought in Sam Franklin, the safety for there, who's I think is going to be competing for one of the gunner spots after you lose Tremont Smith, and you're kind of not wanting to use Riley Moss as a gunner, which they kind of cut into last year a little bit. So at wide receiver, having pulled it up, Josh Reynolds, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Cortland Sutton, Devon Bailey, they all saw a special team snap. It was a total of 12 snaps between them. So even with, the questions about Troy Franklin at wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5, I'm not sure how much they want to use that if they don't have that role for it, role for them. Maybe he can show up as that second returner. And that's a whole other wrinkle in this is how much is going to change with kick returning because of the new rules. You basically need that second kick returner. How much is that going to impact the overall special teams makeup for it? Is that where Troy Franklin can step in, or Tyler Bidet, or one of these other depth guys? And that's why one of the reasons why I have the undrafted free agent wide receivers as some of them with a chance to make this roster is because they could possibly end up that second returner opposite Marvin Mims. So it's tough with wide receivers because it's pretty typical that unless you're a gunner and as a wide receiver, you don't see a whole lot of special teams reps. And I think that's what they brought Trent Sherfield in at wide receiver to help replace, be one of those gunners and maybe a Sam Franklin or one of these other guys. So it's just tough. If you're not a returner or a gunner, where are you playing on special teams as a receiver?
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Thank you, Troy, so much for the super chat. We really do appreciate you coming in. And how are the Broncos Gunners? Pretty good. But you did lose Trevon Smith. Tremont Smith. So you're hoping Sherfield can replace that. But Tremont Smith was a very good gunner. So that is one that we're going to have to keep an eye on. Moving forward here, Eric, the next big camp battle, it's got to be running back position now. You got Tyler Bidet, who flashed a lot last season, but the sample size is so small. Can we take very much from it? Jaleel McLaughlin. McLaughlin. I feel like sometimes the name is messed up. McLaughlin is... I don't know. I know he works really hard, and Sean Payton's talked about him before, but he hasn't shown himself as a wide receiver. They don't seem to trust him in pass protection. And as a runner, he's definitely had the best vision of the guys there last season, but I didn't feel like he had the twitch or the ability to make a guy miss to the extent where it's like he's a viable player. I think he's somebody who probably a practice squad guy on a lot of teams. I know he works really hard and everything is just when I watch him, it always leaves me wanting more. It's not even like Phillip Lindsay level. Like Phillip had a little bit of burst through the hole. All of a sudden he's on the second level, and McLaughlin just doesn't feel to have that same level of linear explosiveness. So there's McLaughlin as well. Right now with the Harvey contract stuff, it seems like it's full on J.K. Dobbins Express, at least early on for the Broncos.
Yeah, it's with the running back, it's the whole pecking order. I still think RJ Harvey's going to be running back 1 even early in the season, just because Dobbins being a late addition, a June addition to the running back room, I think he was brought in to kind of raise the floor and stabilize the room a little bit, not be the top guy. That's what they got RJ Harvey for. But that's what training camp, that's what part of this battle is going to be about, is figuring out that pecking order. How much time does RJ Harvey miss with the contract stuff? And then who's running back 3, who's running back 4? I think that they keep 4 out of the position, and we don't know who that's going to be, because I think, when you look at the room, I think the only 2 somewhat safe guys are RJ Harvey, who is 100% safe, and JK Dobbins, who I'd say is probably about 90 to 95% safe, because his contract, being a veteran contract, they can cut him before the start of the season and save some money against the salary cap. So if these guys do still step up, well, that's still an option for it. I still expect him to make it, as I said, raises the floor and stabilizes the room. So is it McLaughlin who is there, who I really do think is going to end up as the running back 3? And I don't fully disagree with you that he's more of a practice squad caliber player. He's more of running back 4 practice squad guy. It's just the way that the room is made up right now. He's the one who makes the most sense, because he is the only slasher back type that they have. And that's not really Audric Estime's game, who he's got to compete for that 4th spot. Tyler Bidet, small sample size, coming off the back injury. Who knows what's that? Blake Watson, ball security is still a major issue with him, from what I understand. Had some moments where the ball went through his hand in OTAs and minicamp from someone, I can't remember who it was, made a comment about that on Twitter or on a podcast or article or something like that, talking about Blake Watson still having some issues holding on to the ball. So a lot of questions with the room, and it's a room that is lacking talent that, unfortunately, that's not going to be, I think it's going to be better than last year. I think it'd be hard to be worse, but I still question how much better is it going to be? Is it going to go from bottom of the line to top 10? I doubt it. Can we go from bottom of the NFL to 15 to 20? That's kind of where I think that this Broncos run game ends up.
Yeah, we got Rodney asking about A.T. Perry. I think he's even below the pecking order of the undrafted free agent wide receivers at this point. And,
also hurt.
Yeah, also, well, that's part of the reason why.
Oh.
But yeah, no, also hurt. So I'm more interested in Jaquan Newton, Joaquin Davis, Courtney Jackson than A.T. Perry at this point. We got Aaron Davis coming in with all the blue and orange hearts saying go Denver, Broncos, with the space between each one. That took some effort to type out. Hopefully not as much as it was for me to say it out loud, Aaron. So thank you so much. If you guys aren't commenting, if you're joining us on Facebook, YouTube, wherever, drop the thumbs up. We do appreciate that. Next up, it doesn't really seem like there's going to be a battle, but I almost wish there was. Tight end. It feels like each of these guys really does have a role. We graded the unit as like a D-. I think you gave him an F overall, but I've already a D somewhere. I couldn't do that with Evan Ingram added. If you add him to the wide receivers, though, probably around an F. I'm really just, tight end has become this, it's really hard to slot where every single one of these guys goes, because the body types and the usage roles of tight ends has changed so much, coming back to our linebacker isolating conversation on the other end of it. But right now it doesn't seem like there's going to be a battle. The question is more so, how much is Evan Ingram actually deployed inline, detached? Like, what do the formations and the usage look like for Ingram? Because that eats into wide receiver ability usage and just the offense as a whole. So I am very curious to see the usage of Evan Ingram. Joker, what does that mean exactly for the tight end spot? But not really battle per se. I guess the battle is Kroll versus Atkins, but special teams should probably be the deciding factor there.
I think the battle is Kroll versus Loner.
Oh, yeah, that's.
I think that's where the battle is, and the biggest reason for that is because of the special teams Atkins brings, as well as the blocking. Adam Trotman is more of a number 3 tight end, but he's going to be pushed up to number 2. Atkins, I think, is more of a number 4 tight end who's going to be pushed up to number 3. So that battle there between 2 guys who are probably best served as practice squad tight ends are competing for the 4th spot, if they even keep 4. I would be surprised if they didn't, but that's one of those positions where it's not guaranteed that you keep 4. Like wide receiver is pretty typical that you keep 6 there. And, Michael Burton, he plays an aspect in that too, more so than running back. The fullback is more so added in with the tight ends when you're making the 53-man rosters. But yeah, Evan Ingram, I would expect him to see some time as an inline tight end in obvious passing situations. Just trying to, create mismatches and using him as a joker that way, moving him around the formation a little bit. but it is tough because not just because of an Ingram with his lack of blocking ability to be that, first, second down inline tight end or obvious run situation tight end. It's tough. So I don't think there's a battle here per se outside of that final spot, but training camp is going to give us a better idea as to what is coming with this tight end room, with their usage, where they're going to line up, and somewhat of the pecking order. Though I think that Trotman and Atkins will see a pretty similar snap count in pretty similar situations, as they are very similar with what they bring to the offense. So it's interesting. I think that if you're talking about pure training camp battles, even though hopefully none of them see the field, I think backup offensive line is more interesting than the tight end spot, just because. But that's because of how much I know I love trench play and offensive line play.
Yeah. And we want to get to that here. We need to wrap up. Gatorade Gaming asks how long will it take the rookie tight end to develop. You're assuming he will develop. He's very young and late 7th round pick. Who knows? But I think if he can stick around to reach year 3 on the roster, there's a chance. But right now, I mean, you're talking about you just for example here, everybody loves their players on the draft picks, but like go back and look at the 7th round over the last 5 years. What does that look like? Is there a single
Jonathan Cooper?
Yeah, I mean that is the A+ return on investment for a 7th round pick. Just look at the overall sample of 7th round picks dating back 5 years. What do you think? Like 5% hit rate? Obviously it's not, if that, but it does depends on a scale. Like even if you make a roster as a 7th round pick, that's a good ROI. If you're a depth player. So yeah, it's 7th round player. It's a shot in the dark. It is truly a lottery ticket. Lower hit rate than undrafted free agent. Granted, that has to do with the overall sample size. So maybe not a rate. There's more undrafted just because it's a wider pool. But yeah, we'll see. I think if he sticks around and makes the roster this season over Kroll, that's the first hurdle you have to make. Can he next year's training camp? Are we starting to hear more about him? So we will see. We will see. Rodney asks, how's the new punter doing? I'm going to be honest with you. The special teams coach talks highly about him, so feel good about that. But I'm not a specialist observer in that way. Punting does matter. I will talk about how much I value it, but actually evaluating those guys, I don't know. I think we probably won't know until we know as it goes. The Boogmeister says, good morning, big dogs. Gosh, get a guy hyped up. Call him Big Dog. I got a big dog up on the trail yesterday as I carried my 30-pound, 18-month-old on an 8-mile hike for 3,000 gain. Like, oh, big dog. So I'm like, that's right. I probably am. I look like I have a fever because I'm sweating so hard, but we're doing it. Hope all is well. Coaching my son's tackle football team this year. Wish me luck. I need it. Yeah, good luck. I don't know how old this group is, but it seems like a lot of fun, but a lot of responsibility too, because it's not just teaching them the game, but teaching them competition, discipline, et cetera, doing it the right way. So good luck to you, crafting some young men in this generation.
Yeah, definitely wish you luck on that. Not an easy thing to do, just because, as Nick said, there's a lot more to it than just the football side of it. How to be humble in winning and gracious in losing. That's a big one. That in my little bit of time coaching, that was a tough thing, is to remain humble when you win, and all that. So it's one of those things. So good luck to you on dealing with that. No matter the age, it can be tough to be a coach.
Yeah, no doubt. So yeah, remember, it's the safety in those individual kids before the winning. Not that I needed to tell you that, but grow that way. As just learning the right way. Offensive line, Eric, we got to get to it. I hear rumblings above, so I got to get going here myself with the little guy waking up. The offensive line is crazy. We know the starters, but after that, I'm curious to see. I know one of Bo Nix's favorites to bodyguards when he goes anywhere. You got Nick Gariglio, and of course, his name's escaping me now.
Frank
Crum. Undrafted Frank Crum. Yeah, are they going to make some moves? You paid a lot for Trust to come in this season. And then, of course, you got Alex Forsythe, who right now appears to be the incumbent for Wattenberg, who they probably let walk after this offseason just because of the finances of the offensive line. But it's possible Clay Webb comes for that spot as well. So I'm very intrigued. Like a lot of times the back starters go out, blah, 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 boring. For preseason, going to be grinding that offensive line tape for the depth. And the Athletic talked about, like, what's the one thing that can destroy this Broncos team this season other than, Bo Nix settling into somewhere a mid quarterback defensive regression. They talked about the offensive line depth and just like having no idea what these guys are and not investing premium assets on that side. It's a little bit of luxury. Not many teams can do that. But the depth of the offensive line intrigues me greatly.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we kind of know at least two of the backup spots. We have a pretty idea of who the backup tackles are going to be, because Sean Payton, he's one of those guys that he typically likes to have two backup tackles, one primarily for the right, one primarily for the left. That's Matt Peart and Alex Palczewski. But inside, what's going on there? Do they keep 2 or 3 offensive linemen? Do they just go full blown, 5 backups, 1 for each spot? Or do they try to find somebody who can be a little bit more versatile? Xavier Truss, he has a shot. I think he's more of a guard tackle, kind of like Alex Palczewski in that retrospect. So that might be a little bit difficult for him. Frank Crum, last year, the Broncos essentially kept 5 tackles total because Frank Crum made it. Can he make it again? Can he take over one of those backup spots from Matt Peart or Alex Palczewski? I doubt it, but we'll see. And it's one of those things too, where you mentioned grinding the offensive line tape. Frank Crum was terrible last year in the preseason, but he clearly showed enough in practice and in the film room to where they kept him anyways. And so it's one of those things where no matter what they do in games, there's still more to the equation than we can see. We don't have access to all the practice tape. We don't have access to all the meeting stuff, which plays an important factor in it. You mentioned Nick Gargiulo, and can he show his versatility to be a center guard or play both guard spots? Because the more you can do, the better your opportunity is. Can Clay Webb do that? Alex Forsythe last year was terrible as a guard, made it as a center. Maybe that's the avenue for unseating Alex Forsythe, is showing a little bit more versatile as a depth piece. So there's a lot with this room that I want to see, because we haven't gotten to see a whole lot of these depth guys here on the offensive line, and I'm very intrigued by some of them.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome to follow the backup offensive line and who does and does not make it. It's just going to be a lot of long-term questions for the Broncos as well. I don't know if you have a long-term starter on this unit at offensive tackle, like your plans post Mike McGlinchey and Garrett Bowles, at least ideally. I mean, we'll see. They do have like the body type, like Matt Peart, he's one of the ones that like prototype build. Frank Crum, you see it more in high school to college, but like the requisite body type and movement skills for a player, but like a mess. A lot of times you don't get guys given the time to do that in the NFL, but they obviously think they have something there potentially in Crum. Even if he ends up just being a swing tackle, there's some value in that, but he's a massive human being. That Frank Crum, what do we have him listed here? Our lads, 6'8", 315, with beautiful blonde locks. Good for you, Frank. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to follow. I think the real area though is, can we see somebody here that makes them comfortable enough long-term on the interior? Powers might be on the last year of his contract, given how he plays. Probably Wattenberg in the last year of his contract. So you might have to find multiple cheaper options on the offensive line. Can those be internal? Hopefully the most information we get on those guys this year comes from training camp and preseason, because we don't see them in the regular season. But it is 7:24 my time, 8:24. We're going to wrap it up. Conga said he shows us he existed, which was enough to fill the backup OT spot. Yep, Palczewski was above him. Peart was above him. So right now he's 5th on that, and they paid Truss a lot. So he's on the bubble, no doubt. We got Michael Ronquillo saying, great show today, Nick and Eric on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos. Yeah, we talked about every spot, Eric, besides backup quarterback. I don't think there's much to say here. You brought back Stidham, you have Bo Nix, and you paid Sam Ehlinger. Ehlinger is probably not going to beat out Stidham, but I guess anything can happen. But Stidham's a little bit more of a steady presence, and the way they talk about him being involved in that room. The real question is, can Ehlinger endear, and assuming he has a partner, endear themselves enough to break into the friend group, the husband-wife friend group that Zach Wilson and his wife have left going to Miami. So we're pulling for you, Sam, assuming that you are in a relationship, but I'm hoping that we get some more fun content on that side.
Yeah, and on the football field of it, only question there is, can he do enough to for them to keep 3 quarterbacks. I don't think he's shown anything in his NFL career so far that's worth it. So pressure's on him in training camp and preseason to do something to say is like, I'm not gonna, I mentioned it a lot about teams preferring to stick with their own for when it comes to the practice squad, but quarterback's one of those positions where if you show enough in the preseason, another team will very likely take a shot on you. Can Sam Ellinger make it to where if you don't keep me on this roster, another team will pick me up? That's the only conversation there to have in terms of on the football field when it comes to the backup quarterback spot.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, let's get out of here, guys. Appreciate everyone coming in the super chats today. I know that it's slow time, but Michael Ronquillo a couple times. I don't know if we got this on Great Show today. Nick and Eric on Broncos for breakfast. The Boogmeister coming in too, of course, and Troy with always the very, very generous super chats. Coming in, hanging out. And I do have a little news for you guys. I don't know what it means for our show and time and everything yet, but I hadn't shared on here yet. Scott already spilled the beans over on the Falcons show, but I'll be moving to Denver here in these coming months. So I will be heading out that way. So I'll definitely be at the meet and greet, and got a lot of things to finish here up in Seattle before that happens. But my wife got hired by CU Denver in the public health cancer registry, and we'll be heading that way. So it was almost Charleston. I don't think I could do the South for multiple reasons, but I need the mountains. And Conga says, good luck finding a place to afford, Nick. Conga, it is significantly cheaper than Seattle, like by a lot. Like looking at the rental prices, it's like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievably cheaper than what we're having to pay in Seattle for more space and a yard, actually. So yeah, it's Seattle's crazy expensive. My God. But yeah, no, we'll be heading that way. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm bummed to leave Western Washington because I absolutely love this area. But now a new challenge. I still got to come back out to Seattle and climb all the volcanoes. I'm at 2 of 5, 2 of 6 if you include Mount Hood. But now I got to climb all the 14ers, Eric. So there's 58 of them. The only 14er I've ever climbed is Mount Whitney in California. I tried longs when I was in 7th grade, and we got to the Keyhole. If you hikers out there probably know what I'm talking about. And there's an area after that, I think it's called the Narrows, where it's like a 6 to 8 inch ledge. But we got up to the Keyhole, and it was blasting 60 to 70 mile an hour winds, and that would have been blasting up against the wall on the Narrows as well. So didn't make it. Didn't make it there. So excited for Colorado. Bummed to leave Seattle. The Western Washington is definitely my favorite place that I've been to so far on Earth. But gonna give Denver a chance. Probably the next best spot. So we're excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited for you guys, and I'm excited too for the fact that I now have a ride. I don't have to Uber for the meet and greet.
We'll see. The car seat takes up some room, buddy. Yeah, that'll be good. Unfortunately, probably the meet and greet's going to line up exactly with when we're moving. Yeah. So my house is going to Nick, can you host people? Unless they want to sleep on a box. But yeah, you guys can come over if you unpack this room. Then you can stay in that room. But no, it's going to be good, and we're excited for this next chapter. So going to be great. Yeah, thanks for the well wishes. I hadn't announced it in here yet officially, but we're heading that way, and excited to explore all the different areas. And like I said, I need to climb all 58 of those 14ers, Eric. It's going to happen. Don't have as much idea about the backpacking out there, but I just really started to get into the peak bagging out here. Not class 5. I'm not doing the rope up trad stuff. I don't have those skills yet, but we'll see. But if you're in Denver and you're hiking, mountaineer, or anything like that, hit me up. I haven't done any like crazy hard trails here this year, but I've been carrying my 30-pound, 18-month-old 8 miles, 3,000 plus feet every weekend. So I'm going to be in some sort of shape. I don't know. What does that mean? I don't know, but I appreciate everyone. We'll see you again Wednesday. Have a happy Monday. Have a good week. Choose kindness and compassion. Final thoughts, Eric?
No, I hope everybody has a wonderful start of their week.
Absolutely. Go Broncos.